Hello there guys, my name's Daniel and today I'm going to be sharing with you everything you need to start making your own clothes. So I've been making clothes for many years, and just recently in the past couple years I've been trying to bring these clothes out, sell some of them, put them on Instagram, get some feedback. Today I'm wearing a jacket I made a couple years ago using some lovely interesting fabric I actually got from Italy. It has got some nice lovely front pockets and a beautiful, I'll just open up and show you, beautiful Italian satin lining here. So hopefully this is enough evidence for you to see that I do know how to make at least half of a jacket. So I'm just going to begin and show you everything you need to start making clothes. Now, number one, of course, is going to be a sewing machine. I've got so many bloody sewing machines, but it's all right to start with the most basic one. Myself, I started with the cheapest sewing machine I could find at the time on Argos for about £79, and believe me, that very basic sewing machine served me for years and years. So you don't have to be looking at what is the biggest, most expensive machine, or getting an industrial machine or anything for your first projects. You can start very simply. So of course, step one, you're going to need a sewing machine. Now, number two after that is one of these, and this is a stitch unpicker. This is going to be your very best friend, because for the most part you're going to be using it to take apart the times you stitch two things together that you didn't mean to, or unpicking things where you stitch just a little bit too far. You're always going to need one of these handy. Stitch unpicker here is going to be your very best friend. Now, coming onto that, you might be thinking, where do I start with making clothes, things like that? I've just got a couple books here to show you. You're going to need to get yourself some books. This one here, the Winfred Aldrich menswear book, is a bit dated now, but still a classic. Got very easy to follow measurements and instructions, starting from everything from trousers, jackets, how to put together the patterns step by step, how to make them, everything like that. So some books, even a tailoring book, or this one here is Japanese military garments. Even though it's all in Japanese, you can still follow the pictures. Incredibly valuable book. So I'd say get some reference books. It's going to really help you out. So you've got some reference books, you've got your machine, you've got an unpicker. Other important things you're going to need is marking and measuring tools. And they can be a variety of things. You've got your tailor's chalk, very important, so you can trace out your lines, draw out what exactly you're going to be cutting. And you can get a fabric pen which does the same thing. The rule carries over from woodworking. They say measure twice, cut once. Now this is definitely the same with fabric and fashion design. You want to be very sure you're cutting the right place, so you're going to need some marking tools to go with that. Now, along with the marking, as I said, comes the measuring. You're going to have a variety of different measuring tools. I don't have all of them here. This is actually like from B&Q, from a hardware shop, but it is a builder's square, they call it. And this is a really important because you get those right angles. Now, if you're making your clothing patterns, everything, you're going to definitely need to make sure you have those right angles. Funny enough, I end up using this way more than the usual tailor's version. This is called a pattern master, and it obviously offers you the right angle there, and also a curve. This is very useful for armholes, or just any curved pattern pieces, some of the crotch on trousers, anything like that. I've had mine for many years, and as you can see, it's not exactly, you might be able to see here, not exactly flat because it's been under the iron by accident a couple times, but still incredibly useful for the curves and everything like that. That's called a pattern master. So you're going to need something to do your right angles, something to measure with. Obviously, measuring tape, incredibly important to make sure you get all your measurements right. And this last one here is called a French curve, and that's really important because you can curve around different shapes, whatever you're trying to do. And you've got the inches on one side and the centimeters on the other side, so really useful for armholes and any other kind of curved pieces you've got going there. Now, if I didn't mention, so you've got your reference book, you've done some patterns, you've got your machine, you've marked out your pieces, then you're going to need to start cutting, and that is the next step. I would say this brand here, Fisker, is, you know, one of the good brands for a good pair of cutting scissors. That's going to be very important because you want nice clean cuts on your fabric. And this thread cutters are very important there because obviously when you've finished sewing your stitches, you need to get that thread away and move that piece away. You always want to have a pair of these handy for cutting your threads off the machine, cutting the extra bit of thread left over on your pieces. That's an incredibly useful tool as well. So that is all your tools you need going. We covered that just under 5 minutes. Now, what else are you going to need? You're going to need some patterns, right? Now, you can buy patterns online. You can get vintage patterns. You can obviously, as I said before, make them yourself step by step using a nice reference book like we have here. But even easier than that, if you have some clothes you love, some old clothes, some clothes that fit you well, most importantly, that you're not afraid to get rid of, then bring out your best friend over here, the seam ripper, the stitch unpicker, and just take it apart at the seams. So I'm not going to do this because it's one of my favorite hoodies here, but if you've got your hoodie here, you know, and you've got the seams, you've got the armholes, you just take apart that old t-shirt, that old hoodie, even that old pair of jeans, that old jacket. Don't be afraid if you're willing to let it go. Just take it apart so you've got it laid out nice and flat. And this is gonna, you know, in the process of taking it apart, you're gonna learn how it was put together. And by the end of it, you'll have some patterns there that you can trace onto some, I've got some here, you know, this is just a jeans pocket I've made on pattern cards, but just you can use a pattern card. For a long time I just used paper of varying sorts, like wrapping paper, anything. Obviously it doesn't last as long as the pattern card. You know, real beginner, you can even just use newspaper, anything, you know, sellotape it together, get yourself a big piece, trace around those pieces, cut it out, and just start with some very basic patterns. So hopefully that's everything you need and a bit of a very basic beginner's foundation to start making your own clothes. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned something. Take care.